All right, welcome to Is Your Six Covered? This is Rick here today to talk about the Greatest Tarp Tent shelter. So I did a video earlier, a few days ago, and I got a couple of requests to get into more detail on how this, basically a blue 12 by 10 tarp from Home Depot can be turned into a tent with walls, with a floor, and a covering, all in one. So it's kind of nice, especially in the colder, wetter parts of the country where you would like a little more coverage, or in the hot summer days when the bugs are trying to get on you. So we'll get into it. A quick thank you to Calico Cat 1973 for being one of the people to request a little more detail on this video. So I actually sent that person back an email saying, hey, I'll do a quick video on all the steps needed in order for you to make one of these at home yourself. And I think the best way to do that is to actually use a scaled down version made of paper. And the reason why is we can get into more detail, more depth. Things before we start is the tarp that I did purchase at Home Depot actually came in at 11 feet 10 inches by 8 feet 11 inches. So after they do the folds and put the grommets on, it shrinks down a little bit. So I think originally when they cut the tarp prior to working on it is when they get their measurements. Or they're just trying to trim a little fat, save some material, and charge us to keep their costs down. I don't know. Alright, furthermore, we'll get started. Alright everyone, making this a little easier. So think scale. Think 1 inch equals 1 foot. So with this, I did, on the actual tarp cover that you saw, our tent shelter, it was actually 2 foot overhang. And the reason why I did this, I changed this prototype up a little bit, was so you would have one on each side. So you'd have 2 foot overhang on this side and a 2 foot overhang on this side. Okay, this is basically the seam of the tent, of the tarp. So here's your tarp. Think of this as 12 foot by 10 foot. Now I know this is an 8.5 sheet of paper, but we're just going to pretend that this is 12 by 10. So what we did was we basically put the shelter like this. We laid it on the floor or on the ground and taped this all up. So I'll get some tape and we'll do that right now. But before we do that, a quick trick. English isn't working today. So I'm going to pretend that my 2 foot overhang, there's 2 foot, and we'll do another 2 foot, just to give us a line. This is kind of a quick, down and dirty, what we did to make this shelter. So another 2 foot, 2 foot. All right. So now the floor of the tent shelter was 36 inches. So basically from here to here. So I took 18 inches and 18 inches. And this is where I made the cut. So I'll just pretend 1.5 inches. So I'll say here. And here is our 18 inches to give us 36-inch floor. And like I said in the video, you can obviously get a bigger shelter. You know, they come in 100 different sizes. Depending on how many are in your family, how much weight you want to carry, you know, so on and so forth. So this is where I am going to make the floor. So I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to cut here on the tarp. I'm going to cut there and cut there. So now that's done. Now what will happen is, once this is taped together, you're basically going to need to add grommets. So on the video that I made, there was a grommet that needed to be made in this corner, and the same thing on the other side. Now if you want to change this up a little bit, you can, but that's basically the thing. So what will happen is the rope will run underneath here like this all the way along. You'll tie it to some type of anchor, tree, or whatever the case may be, a heavy large brush, and then along the other side. So that rope will run right along here, and that'll actually make the edge, this crease of your tent. So now the floor, what I did differently on this shelter is I left these open. The one on the video, this was taped all the way to the end here. So this cut here is this one on the corners. Okay, so far we're good. Now there was a grommet right here because this was the normal standard edge, and on this piece as well right here because it was the end on both sides. This is where you'll run the carabiner, and you'll click it into this rope that runs across here. So you'll just clip it in, and this is what will keep the doors closed. So we'll go ahead and make this, and I'll make it generically, no scissors. Basically, there's a cut, another cut, we're going to have to pretend that there's a piece of rope running down the middle of it. So I will just fold this to make the ridge line of the top of the shelter. So before we do that, we need to make our burrito. See if I can do this. Yeah, horrible. I'm hoping you guys get the picture here. So that's basically the floor. And then this is your 36 inches. So once you put all 4 grommets in, put a grommet on each end of this, and make sure you put it on the double walled part of where the fold is in the seam, so it'll be a little stronger and won't rip out. Then right along here, it will naturally continue down to the floor of the ground. So that's basically your shelter. So like I said before, the rope's running through here, along all the way through. And then what you do is, this is basically folded in. This is the floor section that turns into the door. It's folded in at a 45. There's a grommet right there. Let's draw it in so we don't get screwed up. There's a grommet there, a grommet here, because again, this is the edge, the ends of the tarp. Then this will fold in. I prefer having the whole thing taped all the way up. It keeps from two pieces, less likely for the door to flap, and then the wind can't get through here. So as you go up, let's just close it up like I prefer. This folds in, that goes up. This would fold. These clip into that rope. The rope that's running here. Your door stays nice and closed. Things that can improve this shelter are some of those self-adhesive Velcro. Basically, on this corner right here, put one of the male or the female pieces of Velcro that attaches basically to this wall, but on the inside. And then when you close it up, you'll really have it buttoned up nice and keep the heat in. And this would also be on this side. So that's basically it. I hope that helps a lot. It should. The grommet kits you can get at Home Depot when you're buying or any, any lumberyard named kind of warehouse. So basically you'll want the grommet kit. 3/8 grommets or bigger, so you can run a small carabiner, whether load bearing or they don't need to be locking carabiners. It's not going to be a door that'll keep the bears out. Other than that, it makes it nice because the critters can't get in through here. The only place they can basically get in is along here, and the more if you add to it with the Velcro, it's going to make it even more secure. But what's nice is if you're camping and it starts raining, first off you have a place to put your gear that you want to keep dry. They'll be the same thing on both ends. They'll basically look like that. See if you can see that. Yeah, basically look like that. And the rain and the moisture will just keep going underneath. Now there's obviously pre-made tents that are probably a little nicer in design, a little taller. These are fairly short. In the other video, it's basically like 2.5 feet, but it keeps you warmer, it keeps the heat down, so that's obviously a plus if you're in a cold weather environment. Now if it's a summery kind of hot days, just leave both these down until you're ready to sleep or whatever. The wind, the wind will run through it. If you like the video, if you think it's a nice idea, give me a thumbs up, give me maybe subscribe, and maybe even share. Show someone else. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching my video. Have a great day.